All right, we're going to go ahead and begin. We're live on Facebook. We are live here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to begin today. We're going to be here talking about the 737 MAX, the 737 MAX 8, and the tragedies that happened concerning that. We are going to also be talking about with Representative Ford about the bill that is in Illinois in particular. So I think we're going to begin with Representative Ford, who's going to talk a little bit about the bill that is in the Illinois House right now. And so if I may introduce Representative Ford right now.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And I'm honored to join you all on this sad day, 3 years after the crash of the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. And I want to give a special thanks to Nadia, who is representing the families and the loss of your loved ones with heart and passion here in Springfield. She's a single person down here in Springfield with her heart on her sleeves, and she's begging Illinois to do everything that we can. So the families of the victims have my heartfelt sympathy because I met Nadia and her team. But the sympathy is not enough. We need to make sure that the Boeing is incentivized to make their jets safe and prevent future crashes. In Illinois, I'm sponsoring House Bill 4968, brought to me by Nadia and her team, the Wrongful Death Punitive Damage Act. And we have right now two other chief co-sponsors, Representative Will Davis and Representative Camille Lilly, that are sponsoring the bill with us and helping us with it. And so it's our hope that House Bill 4968 will protect consumers and make certain that the Boeing and other corporations will be accountable for unsafe products. By making Boeing liable for the punitive damages for wrongful deaths as well as injuries, we bring Illinois' law up to standards of 37 states, including Texas. Illinois is particularly important because it is the home of Boeing's corporate headquarters. Here in Illinois, we can help increase the jet safety for people all over the world who travel on Boeing Airlines. So once again, my condolences go out to the families, and I want to thank Nadia for her advocacy work right here in Illinois. And I'm very proud to be the sponsor of this bill, House Bill 4968. Thank you very much, Kevin, for allowing me to join you today.
Terrific. Thank you, Representative Ford. Now let's go to Ed Pearson, who has been a whistleblower, and he is an expert in the safety, and he is going to share some thoughts on the 737 MAX with us here. Ed?
Yes, good morning. Before I begin, please allow me to also extend my heartfelt condolences for your losses. I'm a retired Boeing manager. I'm here today to tell you that the 737 MAX airplanes are still unsafe. US government data shows that MAX airplanes are having serious in-flight malfunctions, many involving the flight control system. In the United States alone, there have been at least 42 reports of in-flight system failure since the MAX was ungrounded. And I say again, since the MAX was ungrounded. None of these reports are the results of the MCAS software failure, and instead they are production quality defects directly linked to Boeing's dangerously unstable 737 factory. This is the same factory that produced the two airplanes that crashed. Contrary to Boeing's repeated assertions, production did in fact play a direct role in both crashes. The problems with the MAX go well beyond software and pilot training. Although there are potentially hundreds of airplanes operating around the world with hidden hazards, Boeing leadership is once again talking about ramping up production. Shame on them. Kevin, thank you for an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ed. Next, we're going to hear from various family members here. Sanjita, if you could share your thoughts here with us. I will put a spotlight on you so that you can.
Hi.
Hello. All right. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. I'm the mother of Captain Bhavya Suneja from Lion Air, who sacrificed his life in the evolution of civil aviation, and this Boeing 73 MAX, which was a raw product and still pushed into the market. And once again, Boeing and Co is going about pushing, and this pushback has started. And if you don't raise a voice, it will, again, we'll see few more crashes. And that's what we don't want to do. So I have few questions from the World Civil Aviation Regulatory Authorities. So I ask, has the value of human life depreciated if the dangerously flawed aircrafts are cheaper and readily available in the market? Would the regulators agree and accept the aircraft manufacturers' marketing packages? Would the traveling public be once again become the guinea pig as they were treated by Boeing and Co in the past? The brave Captain Bhavya Suneja had sacrificed his life fighting with the flawed Boeing machine. And I don't want a similar accident to happen again. I wish Boeing and Co had ensured 3 angle of attack sensors in the Boeing 737 MAX and given the training details of MCAS to the pilots and trained them on simulators. There's something called muscle memory, which was not absolutely, I raised the question there and then after the first crash. And there was no one who could take it up or escalate the matters, neither from civil aviation authorities worldwide or any pilot agencies or any whistleblowers. So I want to ascertain that this time at least something happens and they'll listen and something is done about it. So this second crash, which today, 10th March, the second crash happened. Every year it gives another pain, you know, the lives were wasted. The first crash, the sacrifices of the crew and passengers were wasted. So I don't want anything that to happen. I just we have sacrificed our happy lives. So it is an appeal and an earnest request from all of us to the worldwide regulatory authorities, FAA, Boeing, to look into the gravity of the present Boeing MAX safety issues and address these on priority before it is hastily pushed back into the market. Please pay heed to the say and feedback of the pilots and the whistleblowers who are associated with this machine, as Mr. Ed has already conveyed. These corporate governance is an autoimmune disease. It is utmost important that the entity heals itself, lest it should perish. So we all need to sort of keep going with that. We need to uncover our wounds once again and again. There's a lot of effort required. I salute Nadia's and all other families who are been taking initiative and others who are joining in this war. So I really appeal and thank everyone who are into it. And I really pray that some goodness prevails. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Emily? Okay, turn your microphone on, please.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and Nadia for making this possible. We really, really appreciate it for the so much work that you put in this place. My name is Emily Babu. I lost my beloved son, Jared Babu Mwazo, and his wife, Mercy, through the ET302 Ethiopian crash. They left behind, as you can see, a beautiful daughter who is now a bundle of joy, and she's now 4 years old. And as we go into the 3rd anniversary since we lost our loved ones, time for me has really not been able to heal me. And it seems grieving, which has come with so much pain, sorrow and anger will go on forever. And the reason why I'm really angered is because of the reckless decisions that were made all the way in Illinois that has actually affected so many lives. And we are talking about lives that has been affected and inflicted in over 35 countries. It is so absurd and so sad that a fellow human being can actually put so much emphasis on competition and profit making over safety and the value of human lives. And even despite the devastating effects of Boeing corporate culture and of prioritizing profits over safety, Boeing has continued to evade justice. And we all know, just for instance, the DPA, yeah? And it is a high time we all stand in solidarity and hold Boeing accountable for their greed and reckless behavior that has not only killed our loved ones, and we are talking about the 346 beautiful souls that ought not to have died, but have continued to put all our lives at risk. We've just heard that Boeing even currently is actually unsafe. And we really have to come up and put our voices together to ensure that this does not happen. So Boeing must therefore, in my view, be severely punished, and the punishments must be very punitive enough to ensure that their greed and reckless culture does not take away another precious and valuable life. And also we have to ensure that they are deterred in future from ever repeating the same. So if that can be achieved, then justice will be served to the many grieving families. And I really want to thank Representative Ford for the work that is put for the bill, and the many other representatives, the two others that he has mentioned. We really are praying that actually this will come into place and it will be passed so that Boeing and many other corporates can be held accountable. You can imagine if the punitive damage was actually in place in Illinois. I don't think Boeing and the many other corporates would have acted as reckless as the way they did, because then it meant that punitive damage is really going to hurt them in their pocketbooks. So let us continue voicing our voices to ensure that this does not happen to anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrea, if you could join us next here. But turn your camera on and your microphone, please. Okay, I think all right. Nisa, if you could go next for us here. Let me put you up into the spotlight here. We will get you connected in just a moment, but Nisa, if you could join us here, we will, there we go. Nisa, go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin. My name is Nisha Ryan. I lost my husband, Michael Ryan, on the ET302 crash 3 years ago today. He was on his way to Nairobi for a meeting. He was involved in emergency response work with the United Nations World Food Programme. He was the Deputy Chief Engineer, the Global Deputy Chief Engineer of the World Food Programme. And he had worked in many, dangerous and risky places throughout his career. And this wasn't a trip that, we thought was anything to be concerned about. He also, on the journey, there were 7 other United Nations World Food Programme family were also on the plane that day, so 8 in total from the one organisation. As I raised my 2 young kids, we have 2 kids together. My youngest is now 3, he was 6 months at the time. My daughter is 6, she was 3 years old at the time. Mick continues to have a presence in our everyday lives. He was someone full of good humour and a sense of fun, and that resonates with us and helps us through many a difficult time, but we miss him every day. In the first anniversary of this fatal flight, it marked the beginning of a pandemic. The second anniversary, we continued in lockdown. And now on the third anniversary, we are facing a war in Europe. All of these events, Mick and his colleagues would have been at the forefront of the emergency response. And Mick would have been keeping spirits up and morale high amongst his colleagues. His unnecessary and untimely death is our incredible loss, but it is also a loss to the world, the humanitarian world, and the lives that he could have saved and protected. So instead today, we, the victims' families, are fighting for justice. At a very basic level, we are fighting for a right to be heard by the United States Department of Justice under the Crime Victims' Rights Act. I could never have imagined 3 years ago today that this would be the world we live in as we now know it. It is now more important than ever that we hold people to account, to stand up for truth and justice. We cannot and should not turn a blind eye to the criminal underworld of large corporations and the blanket immunity of the powerful and elite. Truth, justice, and accountability must prevail and must be equal in the eyes of the law and for all humanity. I express my solidarity with everyone that is here today and all the victims' families, the 346 people that lost their lives in both the flights. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Vali, could you join us next, please, if you're available? Okay, Gladys, if you could go next, I'm going to give you a spotlight here. If you would like to join us.
Kevin, I
Yes.
need to break in. We need to do the people who are with us in person here first,
Oh,
because we have to-
Make the spotlight here if you would like to join us. Okay, we're gonna. Yes, Kitty.
okay. Hi, my name is Antoinette Lewis. This is my daughter, Antoinette Lewis. We are the mother and son of Antoine, mother, and also my nephew, Antoine Lewis. We are here to tell you from Illinois, the laws that need to be passed in regard to any type of catastrophe, but mainly Boeing, only because for me, they knew the first time the plane went down that their things should have been done. Those things weren't done. Thus, here we are now presenting our case, not just to you, but to the world to know that unless certain legislation is passed, especially with punitive damages in Illinois, then more of these type of catastrophes that happen are going to send the same type families into spirals of depression, of missing loved ones. Yes, my son was married. He was in the prime of his life. He was making a trip to that land, to Africa, to Ethiopia, to do certain business things, but there was no way in God's good earth that we think the plane would go down. So we are pushing. Flyer to Africa. Frequent flyer. We are pushing right now for the legislation here. And if anything else is stopping any of you that have given your so beautiful stories as to the absence of your loved one, we pray for you every day, because it takes only God to keep us from going out and trying to find out who we could personally, bring to the forefront to be able to change things for us. And the legislation here in Illinois is to get these punitive damages where they can be processed in the correct way. So I'm in awe, and I love everyone here, because I know your loss is my loss and my loss is your loss, be it the first flight or the second one. But we want to make sure that there is no third flight that goes up and comes out of the air due to negligence. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to speak in as kind of voice as I can without removing any emotions that are coming up, but they are. But I know that God don't let it go on forever the way it's happening. So things have to change, and we have to be a start. And we are going to be a start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go next to Vili. Can you go ahead and you can turn your microphone on and you can join us and share your story.
Hello, it's actually Jane Waithaka and Josh Waithaka, the wife of Mr. Joseph Waithaka and his son, and Mom will speak on behalf of the family.
Yes, just to say that it's been 3 years of agony because nobody was prepared for this thing to happen. It hasn't been easy for us as a family, even to imagine that this could have happened. The way this plane, Bowen has had a good reputation before, safety was their top priority. But now we have seen the other side of Bowen. I think the most painful and frustrating thing for me is that now the MAX is back into the air. All this grounding and all this that has gone on, I can't be assured that the MAX is safe personally, because even if it's not the MAX, when I see an aeroplane and I get in, my heart is just like coming out. It's have got an impact gonna last in my life. I see the plane in the air and my heart is just, thumping and thumping and thinking, here it is again, an aeroplane. I think that should be made a priority whereby it should be pushed. Because, however, we are now talking about Ukraine, but 346 people have perished. And it's not seeming to be something important. But us who lost, like I lost my husband, I've lost everything. I've lost someone who reassures me every day. I've lost income. I've lost a friend I'll never find. He's left. It's a gap that nobody can fill. Even if this law will change, even if things will be done, they have paid the price. Let our loved one pay the price. But surely, I just feel like something needs to be done and done now so that we don't have another 346 people perishing, going into that pit. Nobody know. Nobody, we are always being told that work, health and safety. Where did it come when this happened and we lost so many people at once? So I just feel like the other side of the law, the people who have got the power to change things, they need to step in, because they say one life is too many to lose. What of 346? They are too many to count, even to imagine. So this pain we have, and let our loved ones pay the price. But this should never ever have happened. The Lion Air crash was there, nothing was done, and then it followed. And now the MAX is back into the air. So I just feel like this should be done, and not only for us or for our loved ones, but in the whole future. This will be something that at least the mankind will say this MAX was approved prematurely. This MAX killed so many people, but no more deaths coming through MAX. That is what I would love to be reassured that nobody else go through what we have gone. It's quite painful for the families that lost their loved ones. And even if you could have been in my country, if you could have the people we traveled in Ethiopia, taking their remains back home, you could have seen how painful it was. And for me, it was even painful that you've lost a loved one and you can't even have a funeral for them. You're going in a funeral to do a funeral without even a coffin. And after that, I had attended funerals and I was crying in the night and asking God, why can't I also bury my loved one? I didn't know how important it is to bury someone and to do their final, to have that ceremony or funeral with a coffin, with somebody in there, the remains. Until this happened, then I thought, I always feel funerals are normal. You go there, there'll be a casket and funeral goes on, but it happened a funeral, no coffin, no nothing. And I kept saying to God, I wish one day I'll have a funeral for my husband. I thought a proper funeral where there is a coffin. These things make a lot of difference to families. I hope our loved ones, they paid the price and nobody else will have to drop from the sky on this flying coffin, those planes that are there to finish people off. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're being asked to leave the cafe where Nadia is, but they're going to continue on their camera outside of the cafe. So we're going to go to Gladys here next. If Gladys, if you can speak with us and tell us your story. Okay, Gladys, if you are available.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm from Calgary, Canada. I lost my husband, Derek. We have 3 children. It's so hard to talk about it even now. We continue to hurt. It feels empty. It feels deserted. To leave the emotional part aside, I feel like I live to see the consequences of what happened. And that includes things like the DPA, the marks flying, whether we like it or not, whether they are dead or not, and it doesn't matter how and how many, the marks going up and flying just like that. The longing for justice to be done for Derek and these other people who died with him. The lack of safety in the planes that we fly, especially the MAX. The lack of trust for the Department of Justice and the government and Boeing. It leaves me devastated with the kids. And I don't know how long this is gonna take, but it seems like everything seems to prolong our healing. And I don't know if there is gonna be anything like healing, but every time it brings back that night when I was woken up by a family member, being told to put on news and see that the plane has gone down. I could not comprehend how it can fall from the sky. And I knew something has gone terribly wrong in my life and my children's life and the lives of these other people are never gonna be the same again. But Boeing is going to continue doing business as usual. I've seen it the way things are taking place with the DPA, with the Boeing, the MAX plane going up, whether we like it or not. I just want better laws that will hold them more accountable. I just need accountability from Boeing side. I want a government and laws that care for its people and the people of the world. And we want safe planes to fly us. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, if you could join us next here, put you on the screen. Thank you very much.
I wasn't really planning on speaking, but I will go ahead. I lost my partner, Matt, this year. He was an American. He was going to the UN Environmental Assembly, and he was a good person, as are so many, everyone that we lost, they were good people. They were contributing members of society and to the world at large. And it's just a loss for the world. And all we're asking for is justice. Like the other family members are saying, we don't want to see this happen again. We can barely hold ourselves together and continue with our lives. And this is a sacrifice that we make to continue to speak out and to do these events and go through the trauma of remembering and reliving. And we're doing it on behalf of the public at large. And I wish that people would understand that. People shouldn't be flying in the MAX. They shouldn't be buying Boeing stock. They shouldn't be forgetting what happened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Toole, would you like to share some thoughts with us here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kevin. I'm here because my daughter Joanna died on ET302. As we've heard, as Nisha said, there were 8 people from the UN died. My daughter was one of them. She was going to the Nairobi conference. Yeah, she was a very special person. And I know some of you wonderful people here already. I've met throughout the last 3 years, but of course, we all wish we met under different circumstances. As Linda says, the MAX should not be flying. In fact, sometime last year, we were running a campaign, Axe the MAX. We thought, and many of the experts that we spoke to considered that it could never be considered completely safe. And it's the MAX, the 737 has had its day. How many decades has that been going on, and the design being changed and changed and changed again with every iteration in conditions of quality control that we're repeatedly told are far from ideal. The whole fleet should have been scrapped, and they should have put a new plane on the drawing board. The reason it came down was negligence, criminal negligence, that to my mind amounts to manslaughter. And I would have liked to see far more people than Mr. Faulkner simply facing criminal trials and facing far more serious criminal charges than they are. If Representative Ford's bill punishes Boeing, if it makes them more responsible, then that's to the good. We can't bring Joanna and the others back, but I think we have made a contribution to aircraft safety in the future. But I think despite all the best efforts of people like Nadia, I think this needs to go further. We really need to continue delving into these dark depths of how decisions are taken in Boeing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next here, I'm going to have joining us. Here we go. Isabel Amaya, if you can join us here, Isabel. There you go. Your
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, I'm Isabel de Luis, and on the other side of the screen, you see my niece, Maya de Luis. We are a family of Graciela de Luis, who died on ET-302 on her way to a UN biodiversity conference. For her, it was a routine trip. The last thing she said to me was, "I'll text you when I get to Nairobi." Today is the 3rd anniversary, but I think about her every day. It is very hard to move on when week after week there is more news about this senseless accident that could have been prevented. We have documentaries, we have YouTube, we have endless newspaper articles. Now, punitive damages would be an important dissuasive factor. It is necessary to keep pushing for a change in the law, and I thank the representative for his efforts, because otherwise the message that society sends to high-level executives, the so-called C-suite, such as the one in Boeing, and as a matter of fact, not only those of the giant corporations, even those of the smaller ones, is that they can go ahead, take risky, senseless decisions for the sake of profit, playing Russian roulette with the public and literally getting away with murder. If we allow this to happen, our loved ones will really have died in vain. It would have been a real waste of their lives and of our peace of mind. Some of you have spoken about justice. It's not that I don't believe in justice. For me, I would be content to know that when my nieces, such as Maya and Isabel, my namesake, who's also attending this conference, hop into a plane, that they are safe. For me, that would be enough. But maybe I harbor no hope for people like Muhlenberg to actually pay the price of his greed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to go next to Chris Moore here. Chris, if you're ready, I'm going to add you to the screen here. And Chris, please go ahead.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm the father of Danielle Moore. 3 years ago today, Danielle was en route to the United Nations Environmental Assembly in Nairobi. She was chosen one of 3 individuals, youth, to bring information back to other Canadian youth, indirectly sponsored by the Canadian government to do this, and she never came back. Of course, we all know what happened. The 737 MAX plane crashed into a Ethiopian farmer's field, and we've been living with this for the last 3 years, 24/7. And it's very difficult and very hard, especially knowing how it all happened. And the people who murdered the 346 people, as others have said, got away with murder. And they're still living a beautiful life, earning millions of dollars every day and smiling and having, you know, a grand old time. And we're just trying to get it together. And I want to thank Representative Ford for what you're doing, helping us, especially carrying Nadia's torch, because this is important for the safety of passengers. And I think anybody who is wronged by these corporate villains, whose bottom line is only making money, that is it. They live quarter to quarter. They don't care about the people in the end. As far as they're concerned, the corporation will pay for it. And I think this is important for the public. But not only has our rights been taken away from us, but also the Department of Justice has taken away the voices of those who died in that crash by rewarding Boeing with a very small fine. Boeing murdered my daughter, and they're getting away scot-free. I think the bottom line is that Boeing took away the lives of our loved ones. And the Department of Justice has taken away our voices and her voice. And the bottom line that I'm after is transparency and truth. That is, for me, that's the only thing that's going to get me to have some type of closure, any type of closure in this ordeal. It's been a nightmare. I'll turn control back over to you, Kim.
Kevin, are we ready for the next person? Kevin, are we ready for the next?
I'm sorry. Yes, we know a quick note here from Sultan. He's from Saudi Arabia. He sends his regards. He lost his brother, who has 2 children, a wife, and 2 parents. They're still sad about that, and they will not forgive Boeing. Andrea, if you could share a few thoughts with us at this moment.
Thank you, Kevin. I am little speak English, not very good to speak English, but I think now I find a new family group, the Zoom and the group WhatsApp. I am lost my father in the Ethiopian Airlines 3 years ago. My father names is he is Saad. He have 2 children, 1 son and girl, and mom and dad he live. I am lost very lost my brother. I miss you any time. I miss you and the son and daughter and dad and mom. And thank you the family now, the group Zoom and the group the WhatsApp. I think the Boeing not inshallah in the future he not good the company I think inshallah. Thank you family, all family, thank you now.
Thank you. Catherine, and then we'll go to Nadia and we will finish with the press conference. So Catherine, then we'll go into Nadia.
Okay, thank you very much. So I am Catherine. I am speaking from France. I'm French. And my daughter, Camille, she was in the plane in the ET302. She was 28. She was also French. And she was working, she was 28 and she was working as a humanitarian in Africa for almost 5 years. She worked first in Central Africa and then in South Sudan, both in refugee camps. And that day, the 10th of March, 3 years ago, she was en route for her first day of a new job in Kenya, in a little town in Kenya. And when I think back of her those days, I think of the living conditions in which she used to live in refugee camps, without place, without water, current water. It was okay, she had internet and we were communicating maybe 20 times a day. We were exchanging WhatsApp messages, but it was so hard, so difficult. But you know, people, that was her passion. And as for all the loved ones of the families that are here, they were good people working for a better world, for better conditions. And the day before she took that plane, she was in Paris and I was with her driving to the airport. And in Africa, she used to take airplanes either from the UN, which were safe planes, and other little planes. And I was so afraid. I told her, but how long will it last with those planes, which are dangerous? And that day when we drive to the airport, she told me, oh, but mommy, don't be afraid. Now it's over. Now I'm in Kenya and I'm in a bigger NGO. So I will have commercial planes, Boeing planes, they are totally safe. So, and then the crash. And during the first months, I just thought, because I'm no specialist, I'm no technical, I'm no mechanician. So I thought, okay, it can happen, It's weather. The weather was bad. I don't know, there was a failure or anything, but it was just that. But thanks to you, all those people, and thanks to Nadia, and thanks to Ed, I'm grateful because I understood. I'm no technician. I especially not speak very good English, but I learned, I trained, and I finally understood what was wrong and that there was a problem. And between 4 months, they knew that a crash could happen and they could have made so that it would not happen, and it happened. And now I cannot close my eyes. And it's like Chris said, I don't want Boeing to get away with murder. It's the first thing. They are murderers. They murdered all our loved ones. And furthermore, and now thanks to all of you and thanks to Ed, to people like him, I know, I can close my eyes. I know that there are still problems with this plane. And I'm totally enraged and totally disgusted because, you know, here in France, I'm nobody, I'm no one, and no one understand what's going on. But we say, okay, cost above people, cost above lives, but it's so difficult to explain. It's exhausting for me to translate, to explain things that even myself it's difficult to understand. So yes, thank you for being there. And I don't want to make that happen again. It's not possible. We can't close our eyes when we know what happens. It's not possible. So thank you for being there, and sorry for my English.
No, okay, we're gonna go for final thoughts to Nadia, and then obviously if anybody in the press has questions, you can put them in the Q&A or the chat here. Nadia, thank you.
To thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Representative Ford for his leadership position in making this bill and making the corporate citizen of Illinois Boeing company responsible, corporate citizen of Illinois who killed a citizen of Illinois, Antoine Lewis, by meeting his family for the first time. And we cannot let these lives be in vain, all the lives. And thank you to Ed, who used to work for Boeing and who resigned because he knew that this was a problem, and he alerted the executives and he told them that there were numerous problems. This is a lemon. This plane was produced in a bad condition, and those conditions have never been investigated by the international investigators, by the congressional investigators. They have investigated a lot about Boeing, and they have shown that Boeing has a lot of faults, but they have never investigated the conditions of the production of the plane, which are still happening. And if you look at all the pilot reports, they are having problems flying this plane. They're having problems, as they write in their mandated reports, they are having problems controlling the plane. This is unacceptable from a passenger perspective, and we are all here today to say that please take our horrible experience and make it save future passengers' lives. All of us are here saying that, victims, families, experts, and other caring people. Well, thank you, the press, for your time. Thank you, all of the people who spoke today. I'm so grateful, and may there not be a third crash. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Terrific. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody joining us today. Are there any members of the press that have any questions that they need answered at this time? I don't see anything. Thank you very much for joining us. Members of the press, you know how to get a hold of me if you need any additional information. Thank you. Emily, did you want to say something additionally here? I see you just raised your hand here. I want to make sure if there was something that you wanted to say here.
Can you hear me? I wanted to say whether it is okay we hold a 1 minute silence in honor and respect of our loved ones, just 1 minute before we maybe leave, if that's okay. Back to you, Kevin.
Absolutely. Please go ahead. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your time. And more questions or anything we can do for the media, please let us know. Thank you for all the participants for sharing your stories today. And hopefully we can continue to push this forward and pass this law in Illinois, but also make sure that the Boeing aircraft are safe. And we appreciate your time. Thank you all much for joining us today. Take care.
I am Andrea Govinda Tusa, and I am the son of Sebastiano Tusa. My father was the most important person in my life. The loss of my father was like a real atomic bomb, because it has caused me many psychological, existential, moral, and economic damages that still have not been resolved after 3 years. My father was my model of life and the cornerstone of my existence. Losing him from one moment to the next one is such an atrocious and unacceptable way is a real huge pain for me. And losing the most important person in my life is violent and difficult to accept. I don't think that it's possible to repair completely this wound, and the pain was so strong that I haven't struggled to cry. I remember that the first month, I remember that I cried only several months later, and the first month I was in a state of shock and hyperactivity, and I could not stand still. I did not stop for a moment. I was in Ethiopia to recover the remains. I have been in Washington with my brother to Boeing congressional hearing and talking to the FAA officers with the other relatives of the victims. And I remember that in the first month, when I came back home, I was going back and forth in my room because I could not stand still, and I lost about 5 kilos. This tragedy occurred in a crucial moment of my life, but also in the life of my father, because he had chosen to make available for Sicily his experience, his knowledge in his scientific level. He had chosen to make available all this experience to Sicily, accepting about a year and a half before the crash to cover the role of a regional counselor for cultural heritage. It was the governor of Sicily, Nello Musumeci, who strongly wanted his appointment, since my father was the number one in Sicily, not only in archaeological field, but also in cultural heritage management. It was at the peak of his career, and finally being at the top of politics, he could realize many projects, many of his unfinished projects, revolutionary projects for Sicily, but necessary projects for the cultural, tourist and economic development of Sicily. Unfortunately, he managed to accomplish only a small part of these projects and policies, because his path was interrupted by this event, by this tragical event. My father was known and appreciated by many Sicilian people, from those of political class to administrations to up to ordinary people with an interest for our cultural and archaeological heritage. Sicilian society placed enormous expectation in him. In recent political polls, he was in fact the most appreciated assessor by public opinion. His ashes were placed within the pantheon of illustrious Sicilians, the most important and influential people in Sicilian history are buried in this church, and this has not happened since 1992, when Judge Giovanni Falcone, the most important judge who fought the mafia, was buried in this church. My father was the model of my life and the model of many Sicilians, and it was my guide, my point of reference for me and for the whole family, as my grandfather was before him. And my father was the only person who could get everyone together, settle conflicts, settle disputes, and this is not only in the family but also in his work. And he passed away at the most important moment of my life. He left us in the He left us at the most important period of my life because I remember that in 2017 I decided to return permanently in Sicily to stay with my father, and I was I won this PhD grant in 2018, and he became assessor. So we had many projects, we had many hopes, and this event interrupted my life, and it caused me a lot of trouble and chain problems. I don't understand really how it's possible that 737 MAX are flying again. And I heard many people saying that these planes are not safe, and I don't understand how it's possible, because I imagine that they should have done several changes in this plane. So I cannot understand which is the truth, where is the truth, and therefore I think that everybody knows that it's not possible to trust in Boeing after all that is happening, and therefore also the behavior of Department of Justice is not acceptable, because they should have listened the voices of families. They should have listened our voices. They should have involved us, but this not happen. So I think it's not acceptable, and I wish to know if we can do something to change this situation, and to in order to say also our voices, our position also in this matter.